Good evening, and thank you for joining tonight's telephone town hall meeting hosted by the Colorado Department of Transportation, also known as CDOT. For your transportation plan, the statewide transportation planning effort that's underway now, we are simulcasting tonight's event in Spanish, and I'm going to pause and ask our translator to make a quick announcement. Go ahead.
Saludos. Si desean participar en español, por favor oprima el asterisco y luego 0.
Gracias. I'm Roger, and I will be your moderator tonight as we talk about transportation in the Boulder, Adams, Jefferson, and Broomfield counties. Our panel members tonight include Transportation Commissioners Shelley Cook and Karen Stewart, and the CDOT Regional Transportation Director for the Denver metro area, Jessica Mickelbust, and the CDOT Regional Transportation Director for Northeastern Colorado, which covers Boulder County, and her name is Heather Paddock. Before we begin, I wanted to take just a moment to tell you about the format for tonight's interactive call. We want to hear from you, so if you would like to ask our panel a question or make a comment, please press *3 on your telephone keypad, and you will be transferred to an operator who will take down some basic information. Once the operator notes your information, you will be returned to the call and can listen to the conversation until you are called upon. So again, press *3 on your keypad to ask a question or make a comment. If you want to view slides that accompany tonight's call, log on to CDOT's YouTube page, which you can find at yourtransportationplan.com, yourtransportationplan.com. Additionally, CDOT has launched a 2050 statewide plan survey that you can take. That survey is also available at yourtransportationplan.com. Since our panel would like to hear from as many people as possible, we will limit all callers to only one question. When it's your turn, I will call your name and ask you to repeat your question for our live audience. Finally, we will be asking for important polling questions during the call, and I will explain that process to you in just a few minutes. Now, before we get to your questions and introduce our panelists, I would like to turn it over to CDOT's leaders, Jessica Mickelbust and Heather Paddock, for some opening remarks. Why don't we start with Director Mickelbust, who oversees CDOT's planning, engineering, and operations for the Denver metro area. That's a big job, including Adams, Jefferson, and Broomfield counties. Jessica, go ahead.
Good evening, and thank you, Roger. I'm Jessica Mickelbust, CDOT Regional Transportation Director for the Denver metro area. As a Colorado native, I've watched Colorado's transportation system grow and change over many decades. In my 25 years working as a leader and strategic collaborator in the transportation industry, with 8 years at CDOT as Regional Director, my responsibility is to ensure the safety of the traveling public, supporting planning, construction, and maintaining our vast transportation system so all of you can get where you're trying to go every day. Every year, CDOT reviews Colorado's transportation needs and creates a plan to guide future investments, and we need your help. Our transportation dollars are limited, and with a state as large and diverse as Colorado, we want your feedback on CDOT's priorities and how to best distribute our limited resources. CDOT's first priority is to fix our roads. We know potholes don't fix themselves, and that safer, smoother roads mean fewer accidents, lower repair bills, and better quality of life. Our second priority is advancing transportation safety. Everybody deserves to get home safely, whether by driving, walking, biking, or riding transit. Transportation safety isn't optional, it's essential. Our third priority is to sustainably increase transportation choice. This means ensuring people have transportation options to get where they need to go, and the more ways we can move without a car, the cleaner air we all breathe. As Regional Director, I'm committed daily to our team who ensures our transportation assets are maintained and rehabilitated for the safety of the traveling public. And I'm committed to our traveling public with a mission to enhance the quality of life and environment of the citizens of Colorado with an integrated transportation system that safely moves people and goods. And third, the stewardship of the money that tools provide to our team. I'm excited to be on today's call and to have the opportunity to respond to questions. I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Region 4 Transportation Director, Heather Paddock.
Good evening.
My name is Heather Paddock, and I am the CDOT Regional Transportation Director for Northeastern Colorado, which encompasses Boulder County. Transportation affects every person, every industry, and every community in Colorado. It does not have a one-size-fits-all solution, and it is important we work together to ensure that everyone has access to reliable and safe transportation options, regardless of their income, location, or ability. Your participation in this evening's event is helping us develop a transportation plan that benefits everyone, and we want to thank you for taking the time to be here tonight and share your thoughts. So let us know what's working well and what can be improved. We are looking forward to hearing your questions and comments, so please press *3 to get in the queue. Roger, back to you.
All right, thank you both for those comments. Now it's time to hear from your transportation commissioners, and we'll have them briefly introduce themselves. So let's start with Commissioner Shelley Cook. Shelley, go ahead.
Thank you, Roger. Hi, everyone. This is Transportation Commissioner Shelley Cook. And quick background, I've been involved in transportation in a number of forms for several years as an elected official, a transit operator, and now as a commissioner. And just to highlight, the Transportation Commission makes policy for the management, construction, and maintenance of public highways and other transportation systems in Colorado, including increasingly here, bus and rail. Now, I'm really fortunate to represent the folks of District 2, which is Jeffco and a sliver of Broomfield, and to work toward the well-being of the whole state. We commissioners work with a very capable CDOT staff to establish priorities, especially in the upcoming 10-year plan, after an extensive process that includes a lot of public and stakeholder input, such as you're here to see today. And I want to echo what others have said. This is a critical step. We really value the fact that you're paying attention, that you're tuning in, and that you're going to share your thoughts with us. I wanted to let you know that we value that and that we'll carry that forward into the process in making those priorities. And now let's turn over to Commissioner Karen Stewart.
Thank you, Commissioner Cook. This is Transportation Commissioner Karen Stewart. I've served as a former 3-term mayor of the city and county of Broomfield and have been an appointed transportation commissioner for the last 8 years. As one of 11 transportation commissioners, our responsibility is to provide policy guidance, budget approval, and project prioritization that serves the whole state of Colorado. I look forward tonight to making sure people in our region have an opportunity to speak to the unique challenges and needs of our area. So many of Colorado's major highways, commuter travel sheds, freight corridors lie within our Adams, Boulder, Broomfield, and Jefferson County region. So I want to thank you ahead of time for being here tonight and allowing us the opportunity to hear from you as we update our transportation plans. Back to you, Roger.
Thank you, and I will add that these are two rock star commissioners that I've had a chance to work with for many years, and we are well represented. All right, we appreciate those opening comments, and we're looking forward to tonight's discussion to answering your questions. This call is all about listening to you and harnessing the wisdom that you bring to the conversation. To get us started, let's ask our first polling question about CDOT's priority to fix our roads. Fixing our roads means prioritizing strategic investments in Colorado's highways to improve infrastructure conditions. It is easy to participate. All you have to do is use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. Here's that question. What is your biggest concern with the current condition of our roads? Press 1 for potholes and surface damage. Press 2 for the lack of maintenance or repaving. Press 3 for poor bridge conditions. And press 4 if none of the above. So again, 1 for potholes and surface damage, 2 for lack of maintenance, 3 for poor bridges, and 4 none of the above. Go ahead and record your vote now, and we'll share the results in just a moment. And while you are voting, as a reminder, please press *3 if you would like to ask a question or give feedback. So now let's turn it over to Commissioner Karen Stewart. Karen, would you tell us a little more about some of the trends, challenges, and opportunities you're seeing in this area?
Thank you, Roger. CDOT, in close cooperation with the Denver Regional Council of Governments, known as DRCOG, and its member cities and counties, strives to deliver a regional transportation system that's well-connected, serves all modes of travel, is safe, reliable, and well-maintained. Our region is a diverse network of vibrant, connected communities with a broad spectrum of housing and employment. These communities have developed local transportation infrastructure that connects to the regional transportation infrastructure that CDOT provides and maintains. The foundation of a sustainable and resilient economy relies heavily on an efficient and well-connected transportation system where all residents have access to a range of transportation options and investments in infrastructure that allow people and businesses to thrive and prosper. I know we all know this. Sometimes we just need to remember what transportation means to everybody. It's a huge lift in the state of Colorado. Our employment is estimated to continue to rise for our region along an increased number of both people and the movement of goods and services, providing a safe and efficient transportation system that continues to be critical and always top of mind for the Transportation Commission. And we look to balance maintaining and rehabilitating roads and highways, as well as providing more transportation options for Coloradans. Through this planning effort, we have to keep all of these factors in mind as we talk about needs, and you, the traveling public, are critical to this conversation.
Thanks so much, Commissioner. Again, if you have a question, press *3. We're going to get to those questions here in just a couple of minutes. And let me first share the results of our first survey question. We asked, what is your biggest concern with the current condition of our roads? 47% of you said potholes and surface damage. 20% of you said lack of maintenance or repaving. 17% said none of the above, and 16% said poor bridge conditions. We appreciate your participating in that, and we're going to ask right away our second survey question about safety. Remember to participate. Use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. Our next question is about CDOT's priority to advance transportation safety. This means no matter where you're going or how you're getting there, Colorado is committed to providing you a safe and efficient transportation network so you arrive at your destination safely. Here's the question. What is your biggest safety concern? Press 1 for speeding or reckless driving. Press 2 for lack of sidewalks, bike lanes, or safe access to public transportation. Press 3 for dangerous intersections or crosswalks. Press 4 for winter weather driving, and press 5 for wildlife collisions. So 1 for speeding and reckless driving, 2 for lack of safe access to sidewalks, bike lanes, and public transit. 3 for dangerous intersections or crosswalks, 4 for winter weather driving, and 5 for wildlife conditions. Go ahead and record your answer now, and I'll share those results in just a moment. Again, *3 to ask a question, just like James did. You're up first. Go ahead.
Yeah, it seems like we pay a lot of money in taxes, and what are we doing to maintain those roads with that tax money? Where's it going?
Yeah, this is Heather Paddock, the Regional Transportation Director in Region 4, and we are still paying the same gas tax on our for our system that we've been paying since 1992. That is 42 cents on the gallon. So that gas tax is still going to our transportation system, but as you can imagine, in 30 years, the cost of infrastructure has gone up. Additionally, we have added some registration fees as well as EV equalization fees out of Senate Bill 260 that has allowed us to add additional revenue into our transportation system. So yes, we are still paying taxes, and it is still going to our transportation infrastructure.
Okay, good start with that question. Let's hear next from Susan. Go ahead. Susan, you're live with our audience. Go ahead.
Wondering if there's going to be any improvements on Highway 270 from going east from I-25 west. I'm sorry, from west 270 to east I-70 on Highway 270. It's just a bottleneck all the time.
Hi, Susan. Thank you for the question. Yes, currently we are looking at doing improvements to the I-270 corridor, the area that you were just discussing. We have been doing a lot of robust public engagement with the communities and the local stakeholders to really determine the alternatives that are appropriate for those groups and get public feedback on how we can make that transportation system really effective. Currently, we're evaluating two alternatives. One includes the addition of an express lane, and the second alternative includes a general purpose lane. So we are going to be soliciting public feedback in the near future on those alternatives, and so please check out our website for additional information and opportunities to engage with that process.
Okay, thank you for that question. Let's hear from Kay next. Kay, go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call. This is more of an issue related to today. I'm a senior and I'm not going to be here in 2050, but the toll system that you have on I-25 is a freaking nightmare. I've tried to take it a couple of times, and when I've used it, it's been very convenient. But the problem is there are no human beings associated with this. And when you have an issue or you've been issued a violation, you can't talk to anyone. You can dispute it online. And at that time, AI takes over and says, no, we don't accept your dispute. So there's really no way for the public to explain why, they went over 15 inches. And it's so expensive. I'd like to know where that money's going.
Hi, thank you so much for the question about building tolls. As the population of Denver grows in the future, traditional lane expansions alone are not sufficient to keep pace with the increasing traffic volumes. Tolled express lanes provide a means to manage congestion and increase capacity by offering drivers a choice to use the lanes for a toll. For most of our express lanes, vehicles with 3 or more people can ride the lanes for free. I do hear it sounds like there's some frustration with the tolling and billing process, and we do provide phone numbers on all of those bills that you may be getting, and you're welcome to call the customer service office for support.
Okay, next up is John. John, thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Hello.
John, there you are. Go ahead.
Yes, I live in Jefferson County, and I don't know if you guys travel Jefferson County quite a bit, but the highway, specifically I-70 between Harlan all the way to the C-470 interchange, I mean, it's like driving in a war zone trying to avoid potholes, and it seems like the patchwork that happens within a few weeks, it's already gone. And I've had to replace a discount tire within the last month because I hit a pothole and blew my tire out. So I'm just wondering about the infrastructure as far as Jefferson County goes for I-70 and also the main roads. I know you're doing Wadsworth through Wheat Ridge and into Arvada, but what about the Kipling and Indiana possibilities of getting those fixed?
Hi there.
Thank you.
And John, thank you very much for your question. Potholes are caused by the expansion and contraction of groundwater under the pavement. When the water freezes, it fills more space under the pavement and then expands from there, bends and cracks and weakens the road surface. The hot plants that are now operational, we will be doing proper patching by squaring up the holes and removing loose material later. The patrols are in the process now of doing patching. We're starting with the worst areas first and moving from there during this, warmer season. So watch for some action soon.
Okay, let's hear from one more person. Jean, you're next. Go ahead.
Yes, hello. I live in Broomfield County, but this is actually a intersection right next to Broomfield County and Boulder. The intersection of 287 and Dillon has unfortunately been the site of many serious and one fatal accident recently. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence that people cite that we need to look at speeds, we need to look at line of sight, we need to look at light sequencing. in that area. Is there any chance that CDOT has this intersection on their radar to look at crash data? And what is the possibility that this intersection could receive serious investigation for improvement? Thank you.
Hi, Jean. This is Heather Paddock, and absolutely, we have totally looked at this intersection, and we have some near-term activities that we are going to be doing to address some of the concerns at Dillon Road and 287. We'll be changing the signal backplates to have reflective tape around the outside of the light. We're also implementing what's called dilemma zone detection, which will extend the red light if it detects a vehicle that is going too fast to stop for the yellow light. Additionally, we're advancing design in Boulder County to look at center median barrier on a lot of those crossover crashes that are occurring on 287, and we were recently awarded federal funds to complete that project.
All right, thank you for that question. We will get back to more questions in a few minutes, but for those of you who joined the call late, good evening. I'm Roger, and I'm your moderator tonight as we talk about your transportation plan, Colorado's statewide transportation planning effort with Transportation Commissioners Shelley Cook and Karen Stewart, and CDOT Regional Transportation Directors for the Denver metro area, metropolitan area, and northeastern Colorado. You can participate in the discussion by pressing *3 on your keypad. You'll be transferred to an operator who will take down some quick information and get you in the queue, so *3 to ask a question. And before I turn the call over to Director Mickelbust, here are the results of our second polling question. We asked, what is your biggest safety concern? 54% of you said speeding and reckless driving, no surprise there. 18% said sidewalks, the lack of sidewalks, bike lanes, and safe access to public transportation. 15% of you said dangerous intersections or crosswalks. 10% said winter weather driving, and 3% said wildlife collisions. We thank you for your participation. Before I turn the call back over to Director Mickelbust, I already said that, sorry. Director, would you tell us a little more about recent accomplishments in this area? There's been a lot of them.
Thank you, Roger. Our Region 1 team has constructed some really exciting projects focused on replacing aging infrastructure with several more projects in the queue. 2 new bridges were replaced on the I-70 corridor at Harlan and Ward Road, providing safer travel for all users. Work continues on our environmental impact statement analysis for the I-270 corridor, as I previously talked about, with specific focus on replacing the deteriorating bridges while ensuring that community voices are heard and incorporated into the ultimate design. Groundbreaking for the next mobility hub along the Front Range was held just this morning off of I-25 and State Highway 7. This mobility hub will allow for a park and ride, pedestrian bridge over I-25, and slip ramps for bus staying north route. It also precedes the future Highway 7 bus rapid transit that will join the hub. You may have noticed some mountains moving along the I-70 corridor. We have a major project called Floyd Hill that will replace aging infrastructure and improve safety. Viaduct construction of our segmental bridge will begin in the fall and will be an engineering feat to observe. Please remember, drive safely and follow the speed limits in the construction zone.
All right, let's get to our third polling question. Remember, just use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. Another of CDOT's main goals is to sustainably increase transportation choice. That means providing alternatives to single occupancy vehicle travel that increase choices and reduce air pollution from transportation. Here's the question. What transportation options would you like to see more of? Press 1 for public transit, things like buses and trains. Press 2 for walking or biking infrastructure. Press 3 for ride-sharing or microtransit, such as on-demand shuttles. Press 4 for safer and more accessible streets for people with disabilities. And press 5 for none of the above you prefer to drive. So 1 for public transit, 2 for walking and biking, 3 for rideshare and microtransit, 4 for safer and accessible streets for people with disabilities, and 5 if you prefer to drive. Go ahead and record your vote now, and I'll share the results in just a moment. Again, if you'd like to ask a question or give feedback about what sustainably increasing transportation choice means to you, press 3. This might be a good time to tell you that if you don't want to speak with an operator or need to leave the call early, you can still leave us a message by pressing star 9. So again, star 3 to ask a question live, or star 9 to leave a voice message. You may also provide CDOT with feedback via the online interactive survey at yourtransportationplan.com. You can also send us your comments on the website. Again, that's yourtransportation.com. We're going to go back to questions. Let's start with Lawrence. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm a resident of Longmont, and I'm a senior, and I'm wondering about what kind of progress we can expect in terms of passenger rail up this direction. I previously lived in Boulder. I think the whole northern corridor has been the poor stepchild of the rail improvement, modal transportation, and I would also be interested in seeing similar progress heading up west through the mountains as a way of easing congestion on the I-70 throughway, because it jams up consistently after people are returning from the mountains in their recreation pursuits.
Hi, Lawrence, and thank you so much for your question. It's one that's near and dear to me, too. I'll tell you that the legislature created the Front Range Passenger Rail District several years ago to help the state plan for passenger rail from Fort Collins to Pueblo. That's a top priority of the state and of CDOT, and there is an effort underway working with the various entities involved in order to help develop a service plan and come up with a financing plan for the Phase 1 stretch that would go up to Fort Collins, and that would also provide RTD the ability to operate part of the Northwest Rail that was promised to voters in fast tracks. So stay tuned, because much is happening right now, and I think you'll be pleased by the progress. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Kevin next. Kevin, you are live with our audience.
Hello?
Go ahead, Kevin, you're on.
Oh, okay. My question is Northwest RTD. My question is the 15s that run on East Colfax, why do they, the 15L and the regular 15, why, if you're sitting at a bus stop, you have 4 buses showing up at the same time? Why can't they spread those out to where, they're maybe 15 minutes apart, so that you're not standing there for long periods of time waiting? And then also, if safety is an issue for the bus and RTD, why do they change the times, like on the 65 and the 7? Why do they change the times from 30 minutes to an hour after 6 p.m. when it's darker? Because that's when you need the buses to run more frequently, if it's about safety.
Karen or Shelley, one of you want to take that?
Okay.
Well, I'm happy to make an attempt at it.
Go right ahead.
And then I'll hand it over to Commissioner Cook. So you're referring, Kevin, to the RTD project that is the bus service on 15 that goes down Colfax. And that's something that isn't under the purview of CDOT, although we do try to cooperate anytime there's changes to bus schedules or changes to timing. But it's under the purview of RTD and not CDOT. Commissioner Cook used to be on the RTD board, and I'm going to hand it over to her. She may have more up-to-date information. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great, complete answer. What I would add is that the bus rapid transit that is planned for and under construction for Colfax will provide for things like queue jumps that are meant to provide a more reliable travel time, and that should prevent the bunching that you see currently. So thank you again for the question.
Okay, let's hear from Larry next. Go ahead.
Yeah, come on.
Go ahead, Larry. You're live with our audience.
Okay. Yeah, a similar question was already asked, but I didn't feel like the answer was really specific enough about what they're going to do. I live in Boulder. I've been there for 30 years, and I've watched all the great light rail and rail projects that have gone into the Denver metro area, but the area north seems to have been neglected for some reason. The corridor for Highway 36, I know that there's actually existing rail lines that are there, but for some reason we can't seem to capitalize on those and get a rail system that would work for people wanting to get between Boulder and Denver, or Boulder and the airport. Not to mention there's an existing rail that goes up to the high country right through Boulder County, but the only people that go on that today are the Amtrak ski bus. So hopefully, I'm just asking more specifically, what is the plan to get Boulder and Denver connected through light rail?
That sounds like a great question for Karen.
I could laugh here, but I couldn't unmute myself. This has been a piece that all of us in the North area have wanted for a very long time, and part of it had to do with the inability of the funding that we had to get this done. But more exciting is recently RTD and CDOT and Front Range Passenger Rail have looked at an opportunity to do something called joint service agreement that would bring the enhanced completion of the Northwest Rail project up through Broomfield, Louisville, and Boulder, and then up to Longmont and Fort Collins. So that's underway now, and we'll have funding that won't be dependent on federal grants to do that. In addition, we're looking at mountain rail as an option as well. You've noted that there are rail tracks, and we've just recently finalized a memorandum with the Moffett Tunnel to be able to put more trains through there. Right now, it is the Amtrak that goes through there in the winter park. So watch this space. You can also query this, and we'll give you a link to the information on the joint services project that should be bringing rail to, it'll be commuter rail, not light rail, but very efficient, the same thing that's on the North Line, and should be coming to our area in 2027. So thank you very much for that question.
All right, here are the results from our third polling question. Again, we asked, what transportation options would you like to see more of? 40% of you said public transit. 30% said none of the above, you prefer to drive. 12% said you'd prefer walking and biking infrastructure, and 9% each said rideshare and microtransit or safer and more accessible streets for people with disabilities. Thank you for your participation. Let's get back to your questions and hear from Chet next. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the biggest safety concerns I see that you didn't necessarily ask about in the safety poll was that new motorcycle law that is being roundly abused by the motorcyclists that pass me at 60 miles an hour when I'm going 20 on I-70 or 270. It is ridiculous, and I don't know if there's a plan to repeal it or increase enforcement, but right now it's probably one of the most dangerous things that's going on the highways today.
Hi, Chet, and thank you for bringing that question forward. This is Jessica. Lane filtering did become legal in 2024. As part of this legislation, CDOT will compile a report and present the findings to the Colorado legislature by the beginning of 2027. We share your concerns for those who are not following the new law. But the report will compare data from before and after the law's effective date and include any information on motorcycle rear end and sideswipe crashes. This law will automatically expire in September of 2027, so the report can be reviewed and lawmakers can determine what action, if any, should be taken.
Andrew, you are next. Thanks for your patience. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. Thank you. When we talk about road safety, road surface conditions obviously comes top of mind, but so does communication and access to information when highways such as I-70 and the 285 corridor shut down and come to a stop. Is there a plan to also improve communications or access to data and information such as Colorado Trip, just to get, updates on when, we can expect roads to reopen, et cetera?
Thank you, Andrew, for your question. And yes, communication is very important, and we are consistently looking at new ways to expand communication to the traveling public, making sure that we're doing it in safe manners, as well as manners that don't invade privacy. And there are some rules. We've talked about doing sort of geofences to try to notify people, but we do not want to create additional problems. Not to mention, there are some hoops we have to jump through. So we encourage motorists to go to CoTrip for the latest information on road conditions. And you can also get the app and get updates that are specific to your route. This is a great resource to monitor the road conditions and check out what's going on before you begin your trip. Additionally, if you live in a specific area like Floyd Hill and you want to know to get text alerts, Jessica is going to give you the code to text to get notifications on Floyd Hill text alerts. Thanks, Heather. We're really excited about this opportunity to communicate in real time with the public for those traveling on the I-70 corridor. The I-70 Floyd Hill project implemented a text alert system in May of 2023 prior to the start of construction, which began in July of 2023. Currently, we have thousands signed up for these text alerts, and they've been very effective to notify motorists of when we have traffic holds for rock blasts and other construction activities. To sign up for these text alerts along I-70, motorists need to text Floyd Hill, one word, lowercase, FLOYDHILL, to 21,000 to 1000. The text alerts are primarily used for rock scaling and blasting closures, unanticipated construction impacts like repairing potholes or barriers, and major roadway closures due to crashes and incidents. Typically, this results in no more than 2 text messages per day. I would also like to let everybody know that our tolling lanes along the mountain corridor that are periodically open near Idaho Springs will also be starting a text alert system, and you can go to our website to sign up for those text alerts in the near future.
I drive and visit my dad in Grand Junction, and I'm signed up for that text alert, and it has saved my life sometimes, so I really appreciate it. All right, let's go and hear from a guy with a great name. Roger, go ahead.
Yes, hello. Thanks to the panel. My question is concerning the Northwest Parkway and also Highway 36 between Boulder and Denver, and mostly to do with road repairs. It just seems like the repairs made are of a shoddy nature, and I just am wondering, do they hold up to the standards of the state, or is it because it's a pseudo toll road that things just aren't looked at in the same way?
Thanks for the question, Roger. Go ahead, Karen.
Jessica, you go ahead, Karen. Okay, I'll do the quick one from my perspective, and then I'll turn it on to you, Jessica. So thank you for that question. As you know, Northwest Parkway is a public highway authority that is not under CDOT. The same with E470 and the same with US 36. And all of those within the budgets of that controlling agency do their repairs. If there is an area of repair that you think hasn't been done adequately, if you will call them, they would be glad to hear about that. They do patrols on that. If you remember when we had a failure on US 36 a couple of years ago, the agency Plenary that has that contract on 36 were the first ones to notice that crack And because of their diligence in noticing that crack, we were able to repair that in a pretty fast and safe method. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Jessica. But I do feel I have been on the board of the Northwest Parkway in my prior life, and we do appreciate when the public tells us if they see something that they think is inadequate, not well done, or something we've missed, because our budgets in each of those private roadways are there to keep that maintained at a certain level. And I think Jessica will probably speak to that.
Thanks, Commissioner Stewart. That was fantastic information. I don't have a whole lot more to add except that the roadway is not maintained by CDOT Region 1, and so it's held to the standards that are in the agreement with the tolling agency.
All right, let's go to Matthew next. Matthew, you are live. Go ahead.
Great. Yes, thank you again for having the discussion tonight. I probably could ask a million questions, but I'm going to reserve it down to one. I think the one thing that drives every driver crazy are the lights. It doesn't seem like they help traffic flow, and I noticed, at least the one thing that I have a question about, is that the yellow light, shouldn't it remain on for as many seconds as the speed limit is? So if the speed limit is 55, the yellow light should be yellow for 5.5 seconds?
Thanks, Matthew. I'm glad that you remember those specific details from driving school. I was in driving school a while ago and don't remember that specifically. But to answer your question, we at CDOT use the ITE, Institute of Transportation Engineer, for calculating the yellow change interval and speed, which is part of the calculations. And generally, that will be around 5.5 and 7 seconds. And the why around that answer is probably related to safety. We're always wanting our roadways to be as safe as possible. We always prioritize safety. It's our number one value here at CDOT. So thanks for the question.
All right, let's take a quick break and ask our final polling question. Remember to participate and use your phone to enter the number of your response. So here's that last question. Of CDOT's 3 main priority areas discussed tonight, what do you think CDOT's top priority should be? Press 1 for fixing our roads, press 2 for advancing transportation safety, and press 3 for sustainably increasing transportation choice. So again, what do you think our top priority should be? 1, fixing our roads, 2, advancing transportation safety, or 3, sustainably increasing transportation choice. Go ahead and record the vote, and I'll share the results with you before the end of the call. And while you're voting, we're going to take some more questions. Will, you are next. Go ahead.
Hello. My question was for the process of using the funds for installing EV chargers for small businesses. The process is very, very convoluted and very hard to follow. And I'm wondering if there is a way to streamline that and make it easier for small and medium businesses to be able to utilize that, to be able to expand the growth and adoption of EV chargers. And then also, as far as the tax that's being proposed for the federal Department of Transportation for EVs, I think it's like $250 a year, where the average money that they make from a gas vehicle is like $80 a year. What kind of plans does Colorado have in regards to that?
Hi, thank you, Will, so much for that question. I can tell you that in 2024, CDOT was awarded funds to spearhead the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, which looks to fill gaps in the electric vehicle charging all across the state over the next 3 years. The Colorado Energy Office also manages the Clean Fleet Enterprise, which incentivizes fleets to move to electric vehicles. So it's actually an area of a lot of activity here in Colorado, both via CDOT, but also the Governor's Energy Office. Thank you.
All right. Susan is next. Go ahead.
Is that me?
That is you.
Yes. I I live here in Erie, and I also have a cabin in the mountains. And they have been doing construction up in Estes Park for at least 5 years. And they had the flood problem, and I supported them then. I drove up around. And now many of the businesses are going, they just can't support themselves, and they're going out of business because of the new construction that's up there. And I was wondering, is CDOT going to help them with the roads that are up there? Because the new road that's going through there has cut the businesses off now, and it didn't even look like half of the people were up there buying stuff. I know that sounds harsh for people to be tourists, but it supports the town, and the roads are just cut off now.
Heather,
and
do you want to try to
worse. It even looks worse than it even looks worse than after the flood. The amount of tourist traffic. Are they going to fix the roads up there?
Yes, Susan, this is Heather Paddock, and thanks for your concern, and thanks for your patience in dealing with construction in Estes Park. I know it has been challenging. There have been multiple projects going on simultaneously. One you spoke of was the Loop project that was done by CFL, Colorado Federal Lands, and that was in partnership with Estes Park to create better flow through their community, and they created one-way couplets to allow better ingress and egress into their community, but I recognize the construction was grueling on some of those businesses, and construction access was a challenge. Additionally, we have recently done some paving, CDOT has, on 36 as well as 34. That construction, due to some challenges that we had with the material and seasonality of construction, led to extended and prolonged construction. But I have you know that they did just recently complete that, and so hopefully we will start to see that tourist traffic come back in full swing. We are entering into those summer months, and everyone loves to get to Rocky Mountain National Park.
All right, it's the Susan Hour. Susan is next again. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully I'm the right Susan. Okay, I've lived in South Boulder for 50 years, and I've traveled 93 for many, many years. I just traveled it today. If I may be so bold as to have two questions. Number one, my son is a bicyclist, lives in Superior, and he has quite a time trying to get across 93 over to the bicycle lanes. And number two question on 93, when is that going to be a 4-lane road to handle not only all the traffic, but all these huge trucks that are coming through?
Thank you, Susan. I actually live right near Highway 93, so very familiar with the traffic flow and challenges along that corridor. CDOT completed the West Connect Planning and Environmental Linkages Study in 2018, and that study looked and identified a series of improvements for State Highway 93 between Golden and Boulder, including an extension of the State Highway 93 bike path. At this time, the majority of the improvements along Highway 93 are not funded for construction. It doesn't mean they're not needed, it just means they're currently not funded. Region 1 is beginning the planning and design stages of a resurfacing project, which will really improve the riding surface along the corridor, and the resurfacing project will be between 58th Avenue and State Highway 128. We are working really closely with the bicycle community on improvements that we could potentially incorporate with that resurfacing project to provide some better crossing locations for cyclists trying to cross that corridor. The resurfacing project will also replace the signal and the intersection at State Highway 93 and 64th, which will really improve operations along that corridor.
All right, Tom's been waiting 41 minutes, so we're going to go to you next. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. My question deals with the absolute out-of-control influx of people coming into the Denver metro area, and the fact that roads like Spear Boulevard, which is already a nightmare, and they're planning on putting 9 buildings into where Elitch's and the Ball Arena is, the amount of traffic is going to increase exponentially. And we're seeing it even out on the roads, Pena Boulevard to the airport. There's so much urban sprawl out that way that Pena Boulevard is now bumper to bumper almost throughout the day. And it's given us a real black eye on the tourist industry. So my question is, instead of upping the 42 cents a gallon ridiculous tax, how about talking to some of these developers and outlying counties and having them kick in with all the new influx of incoming people?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for the question. This is Jessica. And yeah, as a native of Colorado, I'm familiar with the growth that we've been experiencing. CDOT, we're constantly assessing the needs of our transportation facilities, and we're really trying to work with Denver metro area as the area continues to grow. So we understand traditional lane expansions alone are not sufficient to keep pace with the increasing traffic volumes and the increasing development. So we're really looking at improvements, particularly in Region 1, focused on the operations and safety of I-25, which can really make a big impact on the congestion in the Denver metro area. Also reducing delays caused by emergency closures that happen often for crashes or potholes or emergency bridge repairs. So just a few key projects in the areas that you mentioned would be the replacement of the Spear and 23rd Avenue bridges over I-25, which will really augment and enhance the 23rd Bridge, which provides access into and out of downtown. We also have a resurfacing and striping project of I-25, which can help with operational improvements and safety. We've got improvement also of our ramp meter system. So those are the signals as you're driving onto the highway that will give you a green or red to get onto the highway. We also have regular presentations from our state demographer where we're collecting really great information about the growth in communities, the aging population, and so we're always looking ahead to try and really kind of zone in on what types of needs and improvements are required. We're also looking in Region 1 to help kind of address congestion. We're building and looking at building and implementing a really robust bus and rapid transit system along Federal Boulevard. So the hope is that with bus and rapid transit, we can provide an efficient system that expands transportation choices and really helps to kind of alleviate some of that congestion from the I-25 corridor, providing a safer way for people to travel kind of in and around the Denver metro area. And with regards to Pena, which you mentioned, I believe the city and county of Denver and the airport, have just begun a study looking at that particular corridor. So you could connect with them for further information on that.
Okay, let's hear next from Eileen. Eileen, my computer just went kaput, so let's see if we can get you up. So sorry. My battery went off. Okay. Sorry, folks, a little technical issues. We're going to try Eileen next. Go ahead. Eileen, can you hear us? Go ahead. All right. Well, let's hear next then. I'm sorry we missed Eileen. Let's go to Harold next.
My question is regarding electric vehicles. I know CDOT doesn't have any control over the taxation, but is the state or any agency looking at how to make electric vehicles share the cost of the road since they are not paying for gas tax?
Hi, Harold. This is Heather, and absolutely. In Colorado, electric vehicle owners pay an annual fee in addition to regular registration fees. This fee is currently $57 for the 2024 to 2025 fiscal year, which includes an inflationary adjustment. There's also a road usage equalization fee that was passed as part of Senate Bill 260, which the Colorado legislation recognized that we needed to make EV vehicles on parity with the gas-paying vehicles. So that added another $12 for all-electric vehicles and another $8 for plug-in hybrid vehicles in the 2024-2025 fiscal year, and that will also adjust for inflation.
All right, here are the results of our final polling question. We asked, of CDOT's three main priority areas discussed tonight, what do you think CDOT's top priority should be? 55% of you said fixing our roads, 32% said sustainably increasing transportation choice, and 16% said focus on advancing transportation safety. We appreciate all of your input tonight on all the questions, and we are going to now kind of do a little bit of a wrap-up and start by hearing brief comments from Commissioner Cook. Go ahead.
Thank you. You know, it was interesting to see those results. For folks who are interested in public transit or added transportation choice, and we've heard a lot of comments about that tonight. Commissioner Stewart mentioned this briefly, but there's great news, actually, on the two corridors. Through recently completed negotiations by the governor's office and the state with the Union Pacific Railroad, we can look forward to the startup of year-round passenger rail service to Granby, with a stop ultimately anticipated for the west side of the metro area, somewhere near Highway 93. And that planning is well underway. I'll tell you that that's planned to begin by late 2026. And the joint service plan that Commissioner Stewart also talked about, they're anticipating that will be in at least 3 trips a day, 2 to 3 trips a day, getting underway a little bit later in this decade. So really good news there. I'd like to highlight one final important accomplishment, and that's the recently completed I-70 Genesee Wildlife Crossing project. We had the chance to cut the ribbon on that about a year ago, and it was just a really happy day. The project improved safety along the corridor by building a crossing under I-70 at a location with the highest number of wildlife collisions on the I-70 mountain corridor east of the tunnels. And they're extra wide, this one is, because there are plenty of elk in the area, and those larger wildlife prefer they don't like to be contained. So we were just glad to see that and look at something like a 90% reduction in the number of wildlife collisions along that corridor. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Commissioner Stewart, we have about 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank, on behalf of our panelists, I'd like to thank all the participants tonight and tell you this has been very helpful for us. We appreciate you taking the time to provide us with input, and it helps guide our efforts moving forward. This is a telephone town hall. It was all about listening to you and will result in further identifying the unique transportation needs of this area. Again, for more information and to provide further feedback directly to us, please visit our website, yourtransportationplan.com. Thanks so much, Roger.
Thank you, Commissioners. We are sorry if we didn't get to your question tonight. We had over 7,100 people on the call. But if you still have a question, you can leave us a message at the end of the call. Just stay on the line, and you'll be directed to a voicemail system on behalf of Commissioners Cook and Stewart and Directors Mickelbus and Paddock, our panelists tonight, and the hardworking public servants at CDOT. Thank you for taking part in this event. Have a great evening.